A runway with a dangerous reputation so unnerved a crew that they made a mistake that ended up killing 199 people. The Airbus A320 is headed for Sao Paulo, 90 minutes away. For the 181 passengers on board, it's a routine domestic flight, but there's been an unexpected development for Captain Enrique Stefanini di Sacco. Congonhas Airport is one of the busiest in the world, but Congonhas is also notorious among pilots. The airport lies in the heart of the city, crowded on all sides by apartment buildings, offices, and roadways. Runway 35L is less than 2,000 meters long, short for large jets. Even worse, it's built on a hilltop with a sharp drop-off on all sides. It makes Congonhas one of the most treacherous airports in the world. Flight 3054 is at cruising altitude south of Sao Paulo when the crew gets news that runway 35L is back in operation. He will have to land at one of the world's most challenging airports with less than the usual amount of stopping power. The Airbus is on final approach. Even though the autopilot could get the plane to the runway, the captain decides to take over the controls himself. He wants to bring the plane in as close to the runway threshold as possible. He needs every inch of runway he can get.
35L, 35L.
Now they are only 300 feet above the city. The Airbus is lined up with the center of the runway. The plane's wheels will touch the Congonhas tarmac in seconds.
20. Retard.
Captain Stefanini applies reverse thrust to the A320's only working reverser. But the plane is not slowing down. At this rate, it will use up the entire 1,945 meters of runway in less than 30 seconds.
Decelerate.
It can't!
Now,
Look at this.
the aircraft mysteriously pulls to the left.
Turn!
It's almost as if it has a mind of its own.
Oh my God!
Flight 3054 has slammed into a TAM Airlines building and an adjacent gas station. Nearly 200 firefighters descend on the scene. They face a raging fuel fire, burning at almost 1,000 degrees Celsius. No one in the aircraft has survived. 199 people are dead, including a dozen people in the gas station and the TAM building. It's the worst aviation accident in South American history. Fernando Camargo is an accident investigator with CENIPA, the country's aviation safety agency. He knows the intense heat could already be damaging the plane's data and voice recorders. Valuable evidence that could help explain the crash may already be lost. Colonel Camargo and his team know that just the day before, another plane slid off runway 35L. If a rain-slicked runway caused this crash, disaster could strike again soon. The pressure is on to figure out exactly what happened to Flight 3054. The recorders will be sent to Washington to be examined at the National Transportation Safety Board. Colonel Fernando Camargo travels to Washington, D.C. Technicians at the National Transportation Safety Board will help him try to recover data stored in Flight 3054's badly burned flight recorders. First, they look for a temperature-sensitive chip that could provide a clue as to how bad the heat damage might be. Even though the boxes are designed to survive a fierce fire of up to 1,000 degrees Celsius, the chip's appearance is worrying news. They test the circuit board to see if any of the memories survive. Without the data, the investigation into Flight 3054 would be effectively crippled. Colonel Camargo may never know why 199 people died at Brazil's busiest airport, but the circuit board test provides some hope.
Okay, we got something.
The information paints a picture of the plane's performance in the critical seconds before the crash. The data confirms that the foot brakes were working properly and that the A320 did not skid or slide. Then, Camargo discovers that the plane's two engines were inexplicably operating against each other. The plane's left engine was in reverse to help slow the aircraft down. But the right engine, the one with a disabled thrust reverser, was doing the opposite. Instead of winding down, it was accelerating to climb power. With one engine at full power, the pilots didn't have a chance to stop their aircraft in time. The lopsided thrust pushed the plane to the left. Now Colonel Camargo needs to figure out why the right engine was at full power when it should have been in reverse.
One, mechanical failure, and the other one, pilot error.
Colonel Camargo brings in human factors investigators Lieutenant Colonel Marcia Farja and First Lieutenant Vanessa Diaz. Camargo now focuses on the crew's actions. He needs to understand how the power levers were handled before the crash. Using data from the flight recorder, investigators focus first on the landing just prior to the one at Congonhas. They learn that during the previous landing in Porto Alegre, Captain Stefanini pulled back both thrust levers. Exactly the right procedure for landing with only one reverser. They've established that Captain Stefanini carried out the correct procedure for landing with one thrust reverser on the day of the crash. So what did he do differently 2.5 hours later in Sao Paulo? The data shows that Captain Stefanini's handling of the thrust levers was very different on his landing in Sao Paulo. Instead of throttling back both levers, he only put the left engine in idle, leaving the right one at full power. Then, once the aircraft had touched down, he activated only the left reverser, again leaving the right engine at full. It doesn't seem to make sense until Camargo enlists the help of another pilot. It's only then that he discovers an important detail that could explain what the captain did. It turns out there was an older, outdated procedure for landing an A320 with a single thrust reverser. It starts out the same, but then there's an important difference. He left the right engine at full power instead of bringing it to idle. If he was attempting the old procedure, he got it wrong. Investigators learn that Captain Stefanini would not have been the first pilot to make that mistake. There had been several accidents around the world. The cause was identical. Pilots mishandling the procedure for landing with a disabled reverser, inadvertently leaving one thrust lever at full power. Airbus finally modified the procedure to reduce the risk of precisely that error. Since the crash of Flight 3054, the runways at Congonhas have been grooved and are regularly inspected. New rules are in place dictating wet weather landing procedures. But despite these efforts to improve safety at Congonhas, many pilots doubt it's any better. What's clear is that even today, 35L is a runway that cannot shake its deadly reputation.
35L, 35L.